Ma'am, shall we start? Ah, okay. So, a very good evening to all. So, after a short break, we are starting with the lecture series again. So, this will be like every month there'll be two talks, and I'll try and we'll schedule it in a way such that there is enough time between the presentations and everybody will be notified much prior, at least a month prior to your lectures. Hope everybody will join and support. So today's lecture is by Dr. Beena Verma, who needs no introduction. So over to you, ma'am. Let's start.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction.
I kept it
I
short.
was about to tell you, don't elaborate on the introduction. Thank
Oh,
you so much.
no problem. Thank you. Please carry on, ma'am.
Okay. So, very good evening and good evening all. And I bring greetings from the Department of Oral Medicine and Radiology, Amruta School of Dentistry, and uh, greetings of Christmas and New Year well in advance. And I thank the organizers for giving me a platform to share a few thoughts with you. And I hope everybody being from Kerala, if I use little vernacular in between, it will be okay. Is it okay? കുറച്ച് മണിപ്രവാളം ആയ കുഴപ്പമുണ്ടോ?
Okay, ma'am, no problem.
Yes, ma'am. Of course.
So, when I was a kid, my grandmother was in her early 50s or at the most middle 50s. So, what is common between her and me is at that age, she had a granddaughter and I also had a granddaughter. So, there ends the similarity. I took one postgraduate degree at that age, and I had all my complements of teeth. And my grandmother did not have even a single tooth. She was completely dental and she was wearing a complete denture. So this was 60 years back. So what I am trying to tell is there is a gulf of difference in the outlook of life, looking at age and the concept of aging. So between introduction and conclusion, I will not be giving elaborate scientific deliberation or a scholarly bonanza, but little light thoughts. Even though they seem light, they are little serious also. So I'll be sharing it with you. I hope you'll put up with me. So from time immemorial, people wanted to keep their youth. Nobody wants to be elderly or old. When Adam and Eve were expelled from the Garden of Eden, God made sure that they didn't have an access to the tree of life. So they got the knowledge, but they didn't get eternity or eternal youth. And mythology and epics are aplenty with stories of man trying to gain eternal youth. Say, for example, see look at the story of Tithonus and Aurora. Aurora, the daughter of, she was a goddess of dawn and the daughter of god of gods, Zeus. So she fell in love with the mortal Tithonus. And what happened was she wanted him to have eternal life. So she went and requested her father to give him eternal life. And being a doting father, he granted it. But the paradox was he gained eternal life, but he didn't get the eternal youth. So what happened? In due course, he became old. And he got all worse things of old age also, like dementia, loss of cognition, etc. And he started blabbering her name and started roaming around her. So finally, she got fed up and turned him into a grasshopper. So that was the sad end of that love story. And you have the story of Prometheus, who brought fire to mankind, And as a punishment, God gave the Pandora's box. So this Pandora's box contained plague, old age, etc. So it was given to mankind for keepsake. But curiosity got over, and once it was open, all these came out. So there ends the concept of eternal life. So old age and mortality came. And we have our own share of stories with that of Yayati, the Ashwini, the twins, etc. So I will not bore you with all these details, but what is Geron? Geron means an old man. Iatrus means healer. So geriatrics is a branch of medicine which deals with the healing of old age. And in Sanskrit also, Jada is very much related to old age. So what is this concept of aging? So WHO defines aging as a progressive, generalized impairment of function. So this impairment of function takes place over years, and it results in loss of adaptive response. So in youth, you are able to manage stress, you are able to adapt, but this capacity slowly loses when you get old. And this result in the growing risk of age-associated disease. So this aging is a result of so many factors. It is not only the number of years that counts, the social impact, the health impact, the genetic impact, everything contributes to this kind of aging. And formerly, elderly were 60 or above, but now it has been a little bit modified, and elderly or older person, it starts at 65. And there is another category where it is oldest old, that is 80 plus. So according to the evolutionary theory, aging is an emergent phenomenon. So it was not there in the olden thing. Why? Because when we were in the wild, that is the caveman and in the forest, there were so many predators, so many threats, and people couldn't live beyond a certain age. And this aging and old age concept, it evolutioned in the protected environments, allowing the survival beyond the natural lifespan. So what happens is there is impairment in functional ability, which leads to disease and eventual death. But the sad part is there is no genetic program which can determine when one will die. So genetics has developed so much, it can predict, okay, who is going to get which disease, what are the modifications that you could do genetically so that you can lengthen the lifespan. But unfortunately, the warranty period, when it ends, nothing, even genetics cannot say. So there are so many challenges also. So there is progress in biomedicine, that science and technology has advanced so much that the survival is beyond the Darwinian expected lifespan. That is a warranty period. Everything comes with a warranty period. Once the warranty period is over, it has to perish or perish. So people are trying with the science and technology to extend this warranty period by doing gerontomodulation, either to maintain the functional ability or at least to retard its progress into deterioration. So ultimately what happens is there is long period of physical and mental disability and disease before ultimately people die. So this brings it in its train so many social, political, and economic issues. And another factor which is associated with old age is frailty. So what is this frailty? It is a state of vulnerability for adverse health outcomes. So a frail person may be not be able to do proper activities. may not be able to even 20 minutes of physical exercise per week. So there are so many parameters which will decide. There are 5 parameters. If 2 of which are positive, then the patient is marked as frail. So there may be unintentional weight loss in the last 1 year. The grip power may reduce. So this is an instrument which is used to measure the grip power. So that will decide sarcopenia also, that is the loss of muscular power. So there will be poor endurance, there will be fatigue, loss of energy, etc. And this frailty results in dependency. So the person becomes dependent on others for even day-to-day activities. He's disabled and there is multiple falls. So there is a branch of geriatrics which deals with falls in elderly. So these lead to need for long-term care with the help of others. So the person may not be able to take care of himself or herself. And ultimately, it ends up in mortality. And this frail persons are susceptible to the deleterious effects of other comorbidities like heart diseases, coronary syndromes, diabetes, cancer, hospitalization, etc. So another factor that happens in old age is decline in cognition. So what is this cognition? So it includes the capability of attention, the sense of judgment, reasoning power, memory, thinking power, ability to focus, etc. But as a person ages or gets old, these capabilities become reduced, again making him invalid. And an elderly person is a bag of diseases, a medically compromised patient. So this medically compromised patient in itself is a big topic. So I'm not going into any detail of these systemic problems, but we have to ask certain questions when such a person comes. What are the considerations that we should have? What is the medical problem? Which system is involved? Or which systems are involved? If that particular system is impaired, what are the phenotypical manifestation, both systemic and oral? Is the patient aware of this problem? Is he on any treatment or medication? What are the problems that can occur as a result of these medications and treatment? Do these have any specific oral manifestation? How do we treat this patient? Do we need to refer? Do we need to defer the treatment? Can we do it in an outpatient department? Do we need to admit the patient to the hospital? Do we need to do any specific investigations? Are we able to read and interpret the results of these investigations? So what all dental treatments can we safely do in this particular patient, or we need to do only palliative treatment? So there is a plethora of questions which we need to ask before we start treating these kind of patients. So our concern is mainly confined to our oral cavity. Even though we are oral physicians, we call ourselves oral physicians. So as a physician, we are supposed to know the whole body as such. And most of the time we claim to know also, but our treatment aspect restricts to our oral cavity. So what are the oral considerations? So this is a table taken from a study published in the National Medical Journal. So they have listed out distribution of study subjects according to type of illness. The illness, men, women, total, everything is given. So when you go through the illnesses that is listed over there, there is fever, cataract, diabetes, respiratory problems, genitourinary. Where is the oral cavity? Where is the dental problem? Where is the oral problem? No, it doesn't come under consideration in a national medical survey. So dental care is not the primary concern even in geriatric patients as well as general patients. There is a new concept, it may not be a new concept also, inflammaging. So as a person ages, there is a low-grade systemic inflammatory status even in the absence of signs of infections. So what is the significance? This increases the morbidity and mortality, especially in the elderly. So why are we concerned? Because of these inflammatory status, the milieu in the oral cavity, wherever there are microbes, it changes. It may interfere with the local microbial population where there are naturally infected sites. And as we know, oral cavity is harbors more than 360 or 400 types or more than that types of microbes. And the main affected areas may be oral cavity and intestine. So what's the implication? Most of the elderly people have oral infections and gastrointestinal problems. So it may be a result of these inflammation. So what are the common dental problems that elderly or generally have? As we age, the periodontal disease increases. Other systemic diseases can contribute to it. So these periodontal diseases, it leads to gingival recession. So once the gingiva recedes, the root gets exposed and there will be senile caries. So root caries spreads fast. On top of that, there may be attrition, abrasion, abfraction, etc. So ultimately, it ends up in the tooth loss, edentulous. So once it is edentulous, there is no proprioception, no dynamicity, so the bones start resorbing. And this resorption is not in a defined manner because the tooth must have been extracted at different times. That renders the bone or the ridge of poor quality. So when you make a denture in this poor quality bone, it leads to ill-fitting dentures. So these ill-fitting dentures can be again a problem for the patient. Along with that, with all the systemic problems, with all the medications and all other things, there may be mucosal lesions, a variety of mucosal lesions. It renders dry mouth, cancers, and polypharmacy, multiple drugs for multiple problems. That again contributes to dry mouth and xerostomia. So where does it end up? It ends up in poor aesthetics. So many times when you go to, especially where there are elderly people who are not that much educated, they cover their mouth with the hands. They don't want to smile. They don't want to show their mouth. Simply because they may not have their teeth or their teeth are in such a bad state. It's a very sad situation. A smile is something that is, that's a gift from God. So if you cannot smile, that's a very sad state of affairs. And with the loss of teeth, with the loss of control of the tongue, speech may become a problem. So when speech becomes a problem, it leads to bad communication. Man is a social being and communication is very much needed for the very existence. In isolation, people go for depression and other sorts of psychological problems. And when the tooth is lost, mastication becomes a problem. So there is restriction of food. The person cannot eat what he wants, he or she wants. This may compromise on the nutrition. So nutritional compromise can lead to or a deterioration in the general well-being. There's another interesting word, that is oral stereognosis. So what does stereognosis mean? It's the ability to perceive and recognize the form of an object in the absence of visual and auditory information. So you need not see or hear it. Only by tactile information, and this provides a cues from the texture, size, spatial property, and temperature. This is very easy to understand because when an infant, he learns prehension, the first thing he or she does is the thing that he holds in his hand, he puts in the mouth. This is a natural phenomenon. So what the baby is trying to do is, it is trying to assess and assimilate the texture, the size, spatial property. So he's trying to understand what it is. And the oral somatosensory, mouth is a unique multi-sensory mix. Mouth has all sorts of sensations. And oral somatosensory awareness includes an evaluative quality also. So you have somato sensation, somato perception, and somato representation. So this evaluative quality can be made use of in assessing the dexterity of the oral cavity. So these are a few, the one that you see in the middle. So these are the instruments which will make the objects, and this is carrot. The carrot is cut with these, with the help of these instruments. The carrot is cut into different shapes. So the patient, this is a study which is done in the prosthetic department. This is published in the Indian Journal of Prosthodontic Society. So the patient is asked to close the eyes and asked to put these different shapes in the mouth and feel and identify with the denture and without the denture. So no, why I have put these? Because every time when new PGs join, we are stuck with what to give as a thesis topic. So when there are so many practical complications and problems, why should we give PGs? How many Haller cells are identified in a panoramic radiograph or a CBCT, or what is the size of the maxillary antrum on the left side is bigger or the right side is bigger? Instead, we could give those topics which are of practical importance, which can be useful for the society, where we could use it practically. We could help the policymakers to make proper policies, etc. So that's why these things I have put. And this is another study where they use different textures and sizes of food and different motions. So it was an integrated program where a community dwelling. So in the community, they can work it better, because at old age, people want to get connected because most of them may be in isolation. When I was in Yenapoya, I had a patient. He used to come, it was a complete denture patient. When I was a tutor, I was working in prosthetic department. So this patient used to come every day after the denture insertion was done. So he'll have some or other problem. So after 2-3 weeks, I asked him, why are you coming every day? And when this history was taken, I understood that there was nobody at home. Early morning, the son will go, the daughter-in-law will go, the kids will go. He is all alone in the school, in the house. So what he does is, he'll come with a minor complaint regarding that complete denture. He'll come, sit on the chair, open his newspaper, start reading it. And little conversation with whoever is there. So isolation is a big problem. So this is a study which is done in a community where these things work better. And mastication and cognition. There are many studies which say that there is a direct connection between mastication and cognition. So in stressful conditions, people have bruxism, parafunctions. So this will stimulate the cognitive centers and the stress may be reduced. When you have severe pain, you bite the teeth. It's a natural thing. So there is an analgesic effect when you bite the teeth together. So it helps in cognition, it helps in reducing pain, it helps in reducing stress. So there is a direct connection between mastication and cognition. So, and oral cavity and dementia. There are 4 C's. There is an article which tells a sorry for that. Okay, it's not getting connected. Okay, so this article, there is a case scenario where an 81-year-old lady comes and sorry, she cannot communicate. She's in the verge of having Alzheimer's. So her communicative powers are very low. And the caregivers, they cannot make her do anything. She shouts, she's non-cooperative, etc., etc. So, and she had very bad smell in the mouth, foul smelling mouth. So, and she will not open the mouth. So what happened was she was brought to the dentist, and the dentist was asked to get the teeth extracted. Even he couldn't get a glimpse inside the oral cavity. So after so much of consultation and everything, they decided that her teeth need to be extracted. So when she was evaluated, the anesthetist told that she is okay for general anesthesia. So all the teeth were extracted. So once the teeth were extracted, the next time when the caregivers visited the dentist with her, they told that now she is far better, she is very cooperative, and she started singing, she started slowly communicating. So the whole problem was there were multiple decayed tooth which was giving so much of pain for her, which she was not able to communicate. So I just want to stress upon that the oral problems are a major problem, especially when you grow old, because oral cavity is the one that feeds you. So that should be proper, no? And there are studies which say that there is worsening of dementia when the loss of residual tooth, inadequate prosthesis, and a decrease in biting force happens. So why? Because there is a direct connection with the hippocampus, and hippocampus is a seed where the formation and retrieval of episodic memories, cognitive modulation, etc. take place. So mastication and chewing, it can stimulate the hippocampus. So definitely when the patient cannot bite or does not have teeth, and when it is not replaced, when the biting force comes down, definitely there is a chance that dementia sets in. And this trigeminal sensory nuclei have multiple connections with different parts of the brain. And the most important sensory system in the body is the trigeminal sensory system. The strong trigeminal impact on hypothalamic function and the pituitary gland affect the hormonal regulation also. So these are some connections and its effects. the connection with the periaqueductal gray, the mesencephalic pain, that's a mesencephalic pain control system. That's an opiate reward system. So when that connection is impaired, it may result in fibromyalgia. The ascending reticular activating system. So this is concerned with the circadian sleep rhythm. So when this is severed, there may be sleeping disorder. Superior colliculus, Edinger-Westphal nuclei, the oculomotor nuclei, etc. So when these connections are not proper, it may result in vertigo. The connection with the substantia nigra, dopaminergic motor system, etc. These are responsible for movements. And when this is not proper, that is where Parkinson's takes occur. And when you have the connection with the red nucleus, which controls the muscle tonus regulating system, postural imbalances may occur. And locus coeruleus, it is a non-adrenergic stress handling system. So when that connection is impaired, it may result in burnout syndrome. So you can imagine how strong the trigeminal system is. And the stomatognathic system has neurological and postural influences derived from the stomatognathic system. It is the most powerful system in the body. Why it is the most powerful system is, it has the same embryological origin, that is the neural crest cells. Enamel arises, the autonomic system also arises from the neural crest cells. And there are 3,000 brain cells which is devoted to the TMJ, whereas there are only 300 cells for the entire sciatic system. And TMJ sends 10 times more afferent sensory input. And these are super fast. The trigeminal sensory input takes only 0.18 millisecond, whereas others take 1 to 2 milliseconds. And also the human posture is very much affected, the muscle facial chains, and inaccurate proprioceptive information of the stomatognathic system can affect the head control and even the whole body posture. So why I put this is, it says poor oral health as indexed by tooth loss only is an apparent risk factor, for dementia and cognitive decline. It requires further investigation, particularly in studies with markers of inflammation, response, and in those with information on dementia subtype. So what this article says is, this needs further study. So this paves the way for further studies for us also. So we could do more and more studies, checking the relation between the cognitive power, the dementia, and the loss of food, the proper function of the oral cavity, the proper functioning of the temporomandibular joint, etc., etc. So there is too much scope for studies on these. So there is GOHA index. It assesses the oral health assessment. The learning objectives was the centralization on the oral health. So it assesses the causes, prevention, and signs of dental caries, periodontal disease, and the relation between oral health and systemic health, then the normal intraoral, extraoral anatomy, and how it helps in general diagnostic concerns, learn to conduct head and neck intraoral, extraoral examination properly. So we have seen frailty test, but now studies have shown that oral frailty test also can be a marker of the general frailty. So this is a study, but such tools are not well established. But this is one study which deals with, which discusses this oral frailty test. They have a 16 parameter scale. So among that, 5 is dental status. That is the number of natural teeth and functioning teeth, periodontal index, tongue thickness, etc. And 8 oral functions. That is the maximum occlusal force, chewing ability, the three different sounds, whether they can pronounce pa, ta, ka, etc. Then the wettability, that's a salivary flow, etc. And three subjective assessments, that is whether there is a difficulty. These are all by questionnaire. You ask the patient whether the patient can eat properly, swallow properly, is there any subjective experience of dry mouth, etc. So we also could do such studies. And dysphagia, this is also a part of frailty. So there are 5 levels of dysphagia. Level 1 is drinking water successfully without interruption or coughing. In level 2, water, the patient can drink water but intermittently patient may cough. But level 3 is patient cannot drink water without interruption and without coughing. And level 4 is drinking water of 2 times or more, patient has to stop and there will be coughing. And level 5 is frequent coughing and patient is not able to successfully drink water. So this may be this will assess the frailty level. This may be a part of the oral frailty test. So why the population aging matters? There is a steep increase in the number of old age people. So as age advances, as we have already seen, there are a multitude of problems also. The problems also increases. And the increase in burden of chronic non-communicable diseases. So we have almost conquered, or we should say almost, with the COVID impending, I cannot say we have conquered, the infectious diseases. It's coming back. But as age advances, the most common problem is non-communicable disease. These non-communicable diseases are more in developed countries, but the developing countries are also competing with them and increasing these kind of problems. And the time required to increase the aged population from 7% to 14%, that is doubling, is also reducing. So according to surveys, Kerala has the maximum number of old age people among all the states in India. And the population aging. So WHO defines population aging as the process by which older individuals become proportionally larger segment of the total population. So when this happens, it brings so many problems also. So people are living alone, or only 2 people are in the house. This is applicable especially to Kerala, where all the kids are outside and the old people are in a large, big house. And there are houses where only elderly people are there. No one below 60. So these are all social problems. And a research study says there are so many percentage of people who doesn't have food, clothing, or at least one. So this is the grim reality, where after retirement, many elderly people are forced to live a life of humiliation, abuse, and isolation. So it may be a restricted social life, it may be an abuse, mental torture, denial of basic needs, etc., etc. So this is a statement by a 71-year-old widow. She says that she's living with her son and daughter-in-law and the kids, but they don't treat her properly. So why these things are happening? So the traditional value system is vanishing, and the joint family system. In the joint family system, whoever you are, whatever you are, you had a place and somebody was there to look after you. But that system is slowly declining. And declining family support, economic insecurity, social isolation, elder abuse, And all these lead to so much of psychological illnesses also. And then there is lack of social security and inadequate facilities. You have pension or social security only for those people who are working in the government sector or in those organized private sectors. 30% of the males and 75% of the females are economically dependent on somebody or other. So the government also provides few provisions, which is actually inadequate, but at least something is there. You have the Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme, National Welfare Scheme, Disability Pension, Family Benefit Scheme, and all these between 200 to 500 rupees per month is given. That's a very meager amount, but still it is better than nothing. And Annapurna is that provision where old people are provided in kind rather than money. The oxymoron is there is a large workforce in India, especially in the oral care sector. This is 2019 data. 295 dental colleges are there. That is almost 1/3 of the whole world. And 30,000 dentists, around 30,000 dentists graduate every year. And among these, there are around 44,000 specialists. So the current force at that time was 2 lakhs and it was expected to be 3,50,000. So with all these workforce, everybody wants to concentrate on in the urban area. With this much of workforce, still there is a dearth of oral care system and oral care personnel, especially in the rural areas where the large percentage of people live. What are the barriers? There are so many barriers. First and foremost is the expenditure. That is where the street dentistry thrives. So when I was in Jaipur, I've seen roadside people like all the other utensils and everything else. There are ready-made dentures also. So people can go there, try and fit. You go to Max and try your jeans or shirt. Like that, you can go test your denture. If it is fitting, well and okay. If it is not fitting, little adjustment will be done and you will be given the denture. And these dental problems can lead to loss of working hours also. So what are the solutions? When there is a problem, the problem brings solutions also. So one could start geriatric dental clinics and counseling centers. It may not bring Audi or Benz, but for your livelihood, that's more than enough, and you are serving the society. And PHCs, that is the health centers, they don't have dental professionals. So government can provide provision to have dental professionals in these PHCs. So many people will get job also. And dental treatment is not covered, and most of the dental treatments is not covered under insurance policy. So you can have specific dental insurance policy so that patients can access treatment. Then you could start mobile and portable dental services, and you could start public and private partnership. So what is in cards? What next? Internet of Things, cloud computing. So these are the pictorial representation of a old lady in a smart home. So smart home means everything is connected with internet. If you have the concept of connecting any device, so long as it has an off and on switch to other connected devices, so that the homebound elderly can have healthcare. So the elderly need not know how to operate it. because there can be so many devices which can be remotely controlled. There can be sensors which can sense the movement, which can sense light, which can sense sound, etc. So the technical awareness need not be there for these elderly, but you can connect it with such devices that it works. So it can be kept under the table, under the bed, on the wall, in the kitchen, anywhere. So these are all movements, the bedroom, the kitchen, everywhere. So there are different types of movement, the cyclical movements, the seasonal movements, the trend, the irregular variations, etc. So the cyclical movements relate to the day-to-day movements. So it's a set pattern. So that is Monday to Saturday, it's a set pattern. And Sunday, the person may go to church, the person may go to temple, so there may be variation. So all these can be detected by these sensors and they can make a pattern. And seasonal. So you have Onam, you have Christmas, so these seasonal variations. Then the trends, what are the trends? How frequently the relatives visit and what is the trend like? And irregular variations. So these irregular variations may be a sign of illness. So these can be detected. So these things can be controlled and detected and interpreted, remote control also. So even if there are no person as such for them, they are safer than being alone. So this is a video. I don't know whether this will work. It's not working. So this animation shows 4 months daily bathroom movements in a 24-hour clock. Sorry for that. That video it was working before. Now I don't know what happened. It's working. So it's a 4-month round the clock animation, the daily bathroom movements. To understand this is very easy. I'm sure everybody must have seen the Android Kunyappan, the film. And we could use it for patient monitoring, energy monitoring, X-rays and image monitoring, etc. So the aging and death do seem to be what nature has planned for us. But what if we have other plans? Like Kunjan Nambiyarada പഴയൊരു കവിത കാലനില്ലാത്ത കാലം മുത്തച്ഛനൊരുത്തന്റെ മുത്തച്ഛനിരിക്കുന്നു മുത്തച്ഛൻ അവനുണ്ട്. സോ കാലമില്ലാത്തതുകൊണ്ട് ആരും മരിക്കുന്നില്ല. സോ മുത്തച്ഛന്റെ മുത്തച്ഛന്റെ മുത്തച്ഛൻ അങ്ങനെ ജീവിച്ചിരിക്കുകയാണ്. So that is not what nature has planned for us, but we want to defy those plans. And WHO defines active aging as the process of optimizing opportunities and participation in security in order to enhance the quality of life as people age. So it aims at healthy aging. Your age doesn't mean that you need be unhealthy. So this picture, Agerasia, is a word which means aging beautifully. So this lady, she is 93-year-old, and the one who is with her is her grandson. This is a video. I have just a screenshot of that. So she is posing for the dresses of elderly people. So now back to the question, is age a number? It depends. If you ask me, I will say age is not it is just a number. It doesn't mean anything. Because I have every right. I have done everything after I became aged and elderly. So at the age of 33, when I joined BDS, I was an old lady at that time. That was more than 30 years back, with two kids in sixth and seventh standard. After 13 years of marriage, you join BDS, you are an old lady. Why should you? There were so many questions. I was rendered audacious uh, and whatnot. But now 33 is quite young. You're not old at all. Your youth starts at 60. That's what they say. And when I joined the MDS, I had even one grandchild and I was 46. That time, so when I joined BDS, there was so much of adversities, adverse questions, comments, etc. But when I joined the MDS, the question was, when are you joining PhD? Which I didn't do so far. So the concept of people change. It has changed so much over the years. And the age at which you become old also has enhanced so much. And talking about mastication, I would like to tell you something. My father's great uncle, he was an Ayurvedic physician. So the way he used to eat, we had a phrase in our home, വൈദ്യനമ്മാവൻ ഊണ് കഴിക്കുന്നത് പോലെ. Means he took so much time to chew the food and eat. And you know what? He died at the age of 101. That's not the thing. The day before he died, he had a seminar in an Ayurvedic conference and he talked for 1 hour. Can you imagine? And another thing, what I want to tell you is, you have to go into the society, you have to go to other people and do things. So when Sandhya started her PhD on geriatric patients, we got connected with the geriatric department of Amrita School of Dentistry. And I want to proudly say that after we started communicating, this is what Dr. Priya, the head of the department of geriatric dentistry, geriatrics, told, that she changed her case history format to accommodate dental problems also. Formerly also, she used to enter few things, but after our communication and all this, she realized that there is so much into the oral cavity than what she thought of. So that's what she told me. So she changed the whole case history format. So it's not what you do, rather than it is how you do things. It's not your age. It's your what you call attitude and what you're planning to do or what you do that matters. Thank you for a patient hearing, and thank you for the opportunity to share a few things with you. Thank you once again.
Thank you, ma'am. Very nice lecture and a very inspiring lecture too. It opens a lot of
Thank you so much.
opens a lot of areas, I think, which we have not gone into, like geriatrics, palliative dentistry. Everybody is stuck at pure dentistry and all that. There's so much more to do, and age is not just a number.
Age is not a number. Just a number. Just.
Anybody would like to ask any doubts at this time? Please go ahead. If not, we'll wind up this session.
Okay. Do you have the recording of this?
Yes, ma'am. I'll send it to you by Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah. Because my granddaughter wanted to listen.
Sure, ma'am. I've recorded it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Can we wind up?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining. See you next meeting. I'll be updating in the group. Thank you all.